Hello, hello everyone. All right guys, so today trying out some live stream stuff. Hopefully the audio is good. We're gonna see how things go. Kind of getting everything set up. So basically we got this walnut slab that we're gonna be flattening, and got a good bit of movement to it. So we're gonna see what we can do. On this side, it's got about an inch of a gap between the table and the bottom of the slab. Other side, it's pretty close to it. The guy that milled it up, he did say that he cut these at like 2 1/4. So it's 2 1/4 on this side. The far side's 2 1/2. So we're going to be working to try and keep this as flat as possible without taking up too much material. So it's kind of a challenge, right? Because if we take it as is, get this inch of a gap and it's 2 1/4, we want to keep this as close to 2 inches as possible. But if we were to flatten 100% on both sides, as is, we're going to be left with, if we're lucky, 1 1/4 inches. So this side being with this side being higher and thinner, we're going to raise the opposite side up a little bit more because we have more room to take material off, and just shim it. So there's going to be shims all over the place here. It's going to get kind of sporty, but it should still be pretty cool, I think. Let's see where we're at. Need this just yet. Right, so like I said, this side's the skinniest and the highest. It's actually a little bit north of 1 inch. It's reading 3 1/2, and then back here is reading right at 3 inches, but it's, like I said, it's a little thicker. Yeah, about 2 1/2 inches, and then the center, yeah, it's about 2 1/2 inches. So we'll raise this side up. I'll probably use one of these orange chainsaw wedges just because of how much movement there is, and then we got to raise it up a good bit. So now we're at 3 1/4 on the far side. Down here, we're at 3 1/4 as well. I might raise this side up just a little bit more. Again, we have more room to take material off of over here. And then I like to sight it down just to make sure that things don't look, too goofy. So let's see. Yeah, we're going to be shimming a lot on this. So what I'm thinking is we're going to have to do, when we shim this much, it means that like not a lot of material is touching the table. So I might take this side, as long as I get like 4 points of contact, on the corners, or even like enough material on the face, I'll go ahead and flip it, run the other side, and then flip it again, and then finish it off. When you don't have a lot of points of contact on the table, you get a lot of chatter. This thing wants to shake a lot. You can see, I mean, it's not shimmed or anything right now. So this thing shakes so much. Even though it's heavy, it's not going to move on its own. We still need to lock it down and kind of go from there. So let's see here. Get the shims out. All of them. It's actually not too bad. Let's flip that. I don't want to raise this side back up, but I do need it to be solid. So most likely, what I like to do here is get it kind of in place where I like it, and then I'll just put a screw in behind it so that it can't, slide back out. That's good. Yeah, I'm gonna need a bunch back here. So trying a new software where we can multi-stream. So we're on Facebook right now as well as YouTube. So I'm not sure if chats are going to come through, if you'll be able to see them, what's going on. So if you send a message and I don't respond, I do apologize. I'll try my best to keep on that. Let's see. Oh my gosh. The shims I'm using are just like a Home Depot special. You just get them in a big pack. They seem to work really well, at least for what we're doing. But sometimes you get slabs like this that ended up moving a lot during the drying process. And I mean, you almost use all of them. I've had it where the orange chainsaw blocks here are right at 1 inch thick. I've had to use a piece of scrap wood and then put the wedge on just to get it to be able to touch that slab. Sometimes it gets real sporty. Yeah, like I said, we're going to have to, we'll run this side 80%, maybe 70%, flip it just so that we can have enough material so that we don't get too much chatter here. Oh, audio sounds good. Thanks, Nick. So, get this. Oh my goodness, yeah, those things. So we'll come back down here, get this. Try to keep this from bouncing as much as possible. You know, the more time you spend in the setup, the better product you're going to have at the end. So make sure you take your time when you're doing this. Better. And to prevent it from getting a lot of chatter and bouncing around, we'll end up taking a little bit less material off per pass. So normally you can do like a full rotation with this machine, which is 1/8 of an inch. We do that at first so that we can get down to, you know, once we start taking like a full width pass. So we want to, like, you know, we can go down a lot further when we're only, you know, making like a 6-inch swipe. When we actually finally get to the 12-inch pass, which is what the helical head size is, then we're going to, we'll go just a half a turn. That way we're not taking off, you know, way more material than need be, and then trying to reduce that chatter. So let me just look underneath here. Okay, so we need some more on the other side. Let's see. Yeah, part of the process sometimes takes a little bit longer to get everything set up, but it's not too bad. Kind of learn to anticipate where your problem areas are going to be. And we're just trying to stabilize here. We don't need to, you know, shove things in and raise an edge up or whatnot. But trying, you know, sometimes you run out of these smaller, so you gotta double stack your shims. My gosh. We're getting there. We're almost there. I do like to put several underneath in the center. You're not gonna get like much deflection, but it's always possible. So the more prep we do, the better. The more we're setting ourselves up for success. Starting to feel a little better. Still a little bit of a shim, or like a little bit of a shimmy in it. A little vibration, but it's not going to be the end of the world. So now we'll lock it down. We'll screw, kind of reinforce those orange wedges. I've been using these, what are these things called? They're from woodpeckers. They're just a hold down bench dogs or something like that. They seem to do a good job. They come in packs of 4. I'd recommend getting 4 packs of them just to have enough on hand. So we're going to use we'll use a few. We won't use all of them. I don't think we'll need enough for this. Let's see where we're at. We got 2, put a third one down here. I want 3 more on this side, or at least two additional. So 2 there, 2 there, 3 up there. That should be good. I don't really think we're going to have too much movement here in the center. You could put them on the sides, but I mean, in all honesty, you're not doing side shift when you're flattening. It's all forward to back. And if you have enough shims, you should be good to go. We used to put them on the sides and then kind of found out that maybe it's not as necessary as we thought it was. Every once in a while you'll get a slab that'll need it, but this should be fine. Two more. We'll go down the other side and lock this into place. And we actually should be pretty close to getting ready to flatten this thing. If you guys have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. Again, if it's the first time trying this streaming on Facebook, so I don't know if I'm going to see them or not. Let's see if I see your all's messages. Definitely getting them on YouTube. All right, so looks good. Oh, that one's will spin out in place. I'm going a little tighter on this end. The plywood's a little bit soft on the opposite end. So if I try to crank down on it over there, it'll just spin in place. It doesn't get a good grab. So I'll go around for this one. Let's see what it feels like. Oh yeah, feels good. I'm just checking all my shims. Sometimes they'll move. You get one side pretty tight. It'll manipulate the opposite corner. We try not to do that, but every once in a while that'll happen. All right, so we need how many? 1, 2. Let's get 3 more screws for our big wedges. We're just going to put those in place. Again, that's just going to be sitting in behind it. We'll sit it up a little bit proud so that they don't vibrate out backwards. good. It's funny, I've had slabs where you put just a couple screws each side of it and it's ready to rock and roll. There wasn't hardly any wedging needed, any shimming needed. And then I've had other slabs like this, way worse, where it took me like 30 minutes just to get it set up. It's been pretty insane. Let's see here real quick before we get started, guys. Just going to test comment, see if it comes through on my side. Well, not yet, but we'll see if it does. Right now, I'll check my messages here, see if anybody got comments, whatnot. But well, that's a comment. Anyway, so the next part, what we're going to do before we get everything turned on and set up, what I need to do is find out where the high points are and then adjust the machine down to it. I'm pretty sure this is going to be the first high point, right? And again, we have plenty of material take off over here, so we can do a little bit more on this side until we get to that side. And then you'll see, as we start making our way towards the center, because this has kind of this bow to it, we'll start taking material off of this corner and the opposite corner, and then it'll start, kind of like getting closer to each other as we make our way down the slab. The goal is always trying to get it as even as possible to each opposite corner, right? So like we should start seeing the same amount of material coming off the opposite corners until we reach in the center. It kind of helps us to figure out if we've got it pretty close where we want it, or if you're seeing like only this side is and you're not even touching that side, this side's going to be like really, really thin. So you need to stop, reevaluate, and probably readjust. Remember, we can always take more off. We can't put more material back on. So I'm going to get this thing right up where I think the highest point is. We were really close, actually. So I'll give this thing a couple turns. We'll run it, see where we're at, and then I'll just keep adjusting it as we go down. But it'll probably get a little bit loud, so if you guys are on headphones or whatnot, I would adjust the volume accordingly. This thing should do a pretty good job of noise suppression now. Just never know. All right, dust collection bag looks pretty good. Let's see. Everything cat. Just that. Headphones. All right. Again, if you guys have questions, please feel free to ask them. I'll answer them when I can. Readjust this guy. Nikki was using this last. We are doing Walnut, so we'll get down to it. I mean, it's going to kick up a lot of dust. That's the reason we're doing the mask. But yeah, I think we're ready to rock and roll, guys. So let's get into it. Yo, galore. All right, seal test is good.
One more time.
Gosh. Tell you what, this thing kills the bridge of your nose. All right, so we're going to stop here on this side, flip it, run the other side, and kind of see where we're at. I wanted to take enough off of this side so that when we flip it, we have kind of a stable base. We shouldn't have to shim it too much. There might be like, even that this corner or maybe down here, we'll see. But this should give us a good base to flip. And let's see where we're at. If we were to take this 100% on the other side and just stop, we would be at an inch and 3/4 on that side. That's the thinnest part in the middle. Down here, oh yeah, about an inch and 3/4. So we'll see if we'll take the other side to like 80% or so. I'm gonna take a picture so that way I can send it to the client. See where we're at, because not everybody needs your tables 100% on both sides. Some people like to just kind of leave it. They'll sand it, because if you're going to do a flood coat, you only need it to be fairly flat for the form. I don't know what the final plans are for this, but I'm going to take some pictures here so we can see. So now we'll go ahead, flip it, and get this thing ready. Let's see here. Nikki, I don't know, you didn't answer my question, sir. The only thing I see is your audio sounds good. So maybe ask your question again. All right. Back here. All right. If you guys are just tuning in, welcome. We're flattening a walnut slab. This is for a customer. This isn't ours. You know, we didn't dry it for them either. They dried it themselves and had a little bit of drying defects. I mean, almost an inch, twist into it. And just kind of is what it is. You can do everything right, stack everything perfectly, slow enough kiln cycle, and wood's still going to move if it wants to move. We've seen it, ratchet strap down, and I had a oak slab on the very bottom of our kiln stack. You have 15 layers on top of it, plus ratchet straps, so you got at least 2,000 to 3,000 pounds worth of material holding this thing down, and it still twists and lifted the whole stack up. So you can only do what you can do. You know what I mean? You can only do so much. Just try to stack the deck in your favor. A lot of times it comes down to, as well as, how did the tree grow? Where did it grow? Was it on the side of a mountain? Did it have to fight a big windstorm? And this stuff you're not going to know as a kiln drop operator. Sometimes you don't even know it as a sawmill operator. You just cut it and hope for the best. I'll leave a couple of these out. And that should be all the screws. So get the majority of our wedges out. I'm sure there'll be a couple that are left underneath when we pull this thing up. The other thing that we need to do is just switch out our dust collection bag. That thing's full. All right, fun part coming up. All right. Yeah, so this is kind of the fun part too. Like, I want to rotate it towards me, but I've got to at the same time blow out the underside so that we don't have anything, you know, pushing up on the slab. Sure, I don't hit my head on anything here. Let's see. There we go. Let's go this way. All right. Ideally, if anything was like bigger than this, I'd have a second person. I'd have my brother here probably to help me get this thing safely down. Not the end of the world to do this, but what does suck is that because I got this big piece of plywood here in the middle, I don't really have anything place for my fingers to go, except for here on this edge. All right. Yeah, not too bad. I was talking to somebody online and said, you know, my next shop upgrade, I got to get a block and tackle or some kind of system up high so that you tie onto the slab, lift it up, it'll rotate and lower it down. Trying to get that done mechanically, but this works for now. So we had some high spots, you know, on the other side. We didn't get it fully flattened, and then this looks pretty good. I mean, there's just it's still pretty solid. This is a pretty top too, so I like to get a solid base before flipping it. The one thing looking at this initially that might be a problem here is this knot on the other side. What ends up happening is, like, usually this is pretty solid. A lot of times they're not. They'll bounce around inside there. That machine, you know, it's 5 horsepower. It's going to grab this and just sling it like a flipping missile. So it's something to be cognizant of, especially if you got like somebody that's helping you running around. So let's see where we're at. Again, so basically about 1 3/4 inches. J Mave to follow. Appreciate that. Oh, let's see here. Yeah, so at the lowest point is 1 3/4 inches if we do on this side, looks like, which ideally we would stop at 2 for a tabletop. Yeah, look, like the one side So the one side was milled. This was at 2.5. The lower side was 2.25. Right here, that hasn't been touched at all by the machine yet. So it's 2.5 as well. So there was a little bit of a lean when this thing was being milled up. Kind of is what it is. So what I think we'll do, lock this down. I'll send a text to my client real quick. We'll start running it and see, like, hey, do you want this stopped at a certain thickness, or what do we want to do? So let's see, where's he at? Let me go ahead. I'll take a picture, make sure, see which side he wants as the top. A lot of times people they'll stay with the slab while I'm doing this. So it's kind of nice because then I can ask them questions. Hey, keep going. You want another pass? Or are we ready to stop? We get that instant feedback. So hold on. Why isn't this finding my folders? My pictures. I mean, kind of is what it is, but all right. So we'll share this. Messages. So if we take this top side down to 100%, the slab will finish out at 1 3/4 inches or just shy of that. So we can go ahead and run it. I mean, we obviously have to do something on this side. There's too much movement to be any kind of functional tabletop. So once we get this locked down, we'll start, wait to hear back from him. He may be like, yeah, 1 3/4 is great, run it. Or take this down to, let's say 2 inches, wherever that's going to end up, kind of in the middle, flip it again and finish the other side. Really just depends on what they want to do because of that knot. I think that's going to be a big deciding factor. But I will say, there's a lot of cool figure in this. You got the crotch feathering up here. There's some compression figure down here, a little bit of curl. Might see some here, it's kind of hard to tell, but for sure you're going to see it here. Yeah, it's going to look good. It'll look real good. All part of the process, huh? Okay. Matt Midday 21, nice wood. Thank you, man. Thank you. Not mine, unfortunately. All right, so that looks good there. Let's go ahead and lock this down. I'm gonna try to use the same amount of these hold downs. I don't know if I'll need all of them or not. Now that we got a solid base, we can push the machine just a little bit harder. It shouldn't have as much chatter as we had before. So when you mill up logs like this, most people are trying to, line it up with the split, the crotch part of the logs because they want this really cool looking grain figure to come out. And don't get me wrong, it looks awesome. I don't blame them. But I'll show you kind of like what happens if we also don't pay attention to the end of the log. Like right here, I'm not sure if you guys will see it. Can't take my camera down, but there's a crack that runs through, and it looks like the way the log was oriented in the mill that it kind of goes like this. If you weren't trying to get the grain of the crotch feathering, what you would want to do is rotate that log until that split is parallel with the blade, because otherwise you're going there's a lot of tension in here. It's not going to dry flat. It's going to be a mess. And you kind of saw that here with this because we had almost an inch gap where the slab wanted to move during the drying process. If you can capture all that split into one slab, so you'll have one junk slab while you'll have the rest will look really, really good. It'll come out of the kiln way better than it went in. Well, not better, but way better than, let's say, how this one dried. All right, so we're going to go ahead and lock this down. We'll get one down here and one on the other side. Then it should be good to go. Two, we don't need that screw. All right, swing around. So while we wait to hear back from my client, how's everybody been? What's everybody up to today? Anybody getting into anything fun? Here in Pennsylvania, it's a rainy day, so not a whole lot to do outdoors, unfortunately. It feels pretty good. Let's see, no word back. So what I do if try to use my best judgment if we don't hear back from the client. Usually thick as possible is what they want. And I mean, like I said, we can always take more material off. And so we're at probably two and a half there, 2 1/4, maybe 2 1/2. I'm not sure on this side. We can stop at 2 and be like, hey, you want this thing all the way down to 1 3/4? Do you want to stop? I can always come back out and touch up, make another pass or two. But getting this thing locked in, about to forget my bag of sawdust that I got to switch out. All right. Let's put this over here. So much sawdust. I've had a couple people ask before, how do I like my dust collection? And it's great for what it is. It's just too small for what I do. I think it goes for pretty much everything that you do, right? Whether you get a tractor, you need a bigger one. You get a shop, you need three stalls instead of the 2. We always need bigger and bigger. I thought about just getting this thing ported outside into a big container, and that way we could just dispose of it once or twice a month as opposed to multiple times a day. If I'm running this thing hard, if I have multiple slabs like this, I can produce sometimes, gosh, what was it, 15 bags of sawdust we did in one day? That was only over 8.5 hours or so. You imagine you run this thing that hard every day, all week? I couldn't imagine 15 bags of sawdust a day. Now, we don't produce anywhere near that. All right, so I think we're ready to start. I'm just going to check, make sure that all of my hold downs are good. I'm checking to make sure that the slab feels solid on the table. This way we shouldn't get any chatter. Make sure those aren't moving. The other thing I'm making sure of is I got all my screws picked up and we're not going to hit any metal. And it looks good. So I'm going to leave it at the same height setting. I'm going to run it, just hit the high spots, and then we'll start dialing it down. Then let's see, we stop it. Oh wow, yeah. So right now the top of the slab is 2 3/4. The skinniest part of the slab, is an 1 3/4. So we got a good bit of material to take off. So I'm going to be making several more passes before we stop until I hear back from my client. So I think we're ready. So I'm going to get all masked up and all that fun stuff here. That's good. That's good. All the questions answered before nobody can understand me in the mask. Yeah, I think so. Again, if you guys have questions, please, feel free to ask them. I'll get to them when I can. It is kind of hard to understand me when I got that mask on and when the machine's running, but we're going to go ahead and get into it. All right, there's that. These, this. All right, so we always gotta love the spam messages. All right, so heard back, client. So what they want to do is they need at least 8 foot, right? That's their kind of their magical number, their target, I should say, not magical number, but their target. It was cut at 8'6", almost 8'7". So we don't have to worry about the extreme edges. So if we can get 100% within an 8-foot span, that should be enough, and then we can keep the thickness as large as possible. So we'll run our tape measure out right at 8 foot here. 7 and 8. So kind of figure out like where my tape measure stop. And it's not going to hold. All right, so we'll just hold it here. So there's our length. So we either, I mean, it's still going to be pretty close. We need to take the far end down all the way and then stop up here. But they're pretty close to the same thickness. So I think that we're going to be 1 3/4 inches. If I had to guess. So right now, this, yeah. Okay, so this far side is about 1 3/4 inches. So if that's the case, that's 1 3/4 inches, that's 1.5 inches. Right? Yeah, so that's 1.5 inches, 1 3/4 inches. So I'm thinking once that side's finished, within reason, I mean, he's still gonna have to square this up. I don't think he's gonna leave it as is. So if he squares it up, we'll stop here, see where we're at, make sure that's 8 feet in between this and the last point, and then run it. So we still have a lot of material to go. Like, it's still a lot of room. Let's see, where are we at here? We stopped a little heavier than 2 inches. And I mean, this is turning out great. Remember, if I said if we didn't raise up the one side, if we didn't balance it out, and we just ran it as is, and we took both sides down, we'd be looking at 1 1/4 inches, and we're at a decent spot right now at 2 inches. So you're flattening, regardless of what machine you're using, do your due diligence, and proper preparation can go a long way. So we still have to run it a little bit longer, probably like 2, maybe 3 more passes. We'll see. And it does have a good bit of dip down here. Like I said, we're at 2 here, and this is 1 3/4 inches, so there's a 1/4 inch. And we're doing, what, 1/8, maybe a 1/16 at a time. So 3, maybe 4 passes to get it exactly where we want it. But I've got to swap the bag out again. We filled this one up. That guy. Toss this bag outside real quick so I don't run into it. All right. So far, we've got about an hour into this slab. But it's going pretty good. Been happy with the way it's turned out so far. Like I said, you know, some of the longest part of the process is just proper setup, but it's so important. Now, we did have a little bit go into this bag. See if I can get this down a little bit. All right, that's good enough for our stuff. Let's see, what did he say? All right, client did get back to us. That's the reason I stopped, just to make sure we were at 8 foot. He says, I only need 8 foot. I think I can cut it around, I think I cut around 8.6, yeah. If the low spots are on the top are outside of 8 foot, don't worry about them. If they are 8 foot, just make the top 100%. Okay, So yeah, so we got an 8-foot section. We get the 8-foot section down to 100%. Then that's where we'll stop. So we'll take 2 more passes, see where we're at, see if we need like 1 or 2 additional. Then we should be good to go. All right. All right, we're going to see where we're at here. We're getting really, really close to the 8-foot mark. I think the problem we're going to run into is this turn. If we could go from here down and see where 8 foot is. Yeah, so like, here's 8 foot. So even if we fully did that corner, we would still need to finish up this corner. So I think we're going to have to take it down to 1 3/4 inches. So right now we're at 1 7/8 inches. But the way that this not want to hold. So the way that this is looking, because we have this that curve is really, really thin. So we'll take a couple more passes, and then I think we should be good. We'll see where this corner is going to get up to, but like if we do that side fully, I think our pencil here, we have to get to that point right there. So we get to, around here, that's 8 foot, and that should give us exactly what the customer's looking for. So when you're taking full width passes of the planer, it fills up the bag really, really quickly. We're already ready to swap it out again. I might get like one more pass out of it, but I don't think I'm going to get 2. And this is why, remember earlier in the stream, I was saying, this is why I like to pipe it outside. Then I don't have to keep swapping these bags out so often. Just amazing how much saw chips and dust this thing produces. All right. So we've been, wow, streaming for an hour, 45 minutes. Amazing. You guys are just tuning in, just catching us for whatever reason. Yeah, you're just tuning in. We're finishing up this walnut slab for a customer. The goal is as thick as possible, and right now we're at 1 7/8 inches, but we have an 8-foot span that we have to maintain. So if we went from like 1 inch in from the far corner from me, we got to go to right here. So we've got at least 2 more passes to make to get the top at 100% in an 8-foot span. So we might do 1 more or 2 more and measure each time. Just want to make sure that, you know, we're meeting the customer's needs here. All right. So we're multi-streaming YouTube and Facebook. So if you guys have any questions, you know, feel free to leave a comment or the live chat, and then I'll get to them as soon as I can. Let's see. Just checking if there's any other comments here. Oop. All right. Like I said, we'll do 1 more pass. 1 3/4 is probably going to be like our final in an 8-foot span, and we're at 1 7/8 inches right now. All right. All right, guys, we're really close. I don't want to just run a second pass if I don't absolutely need to. So let's see where we are at here. 8 foot. I mean, we are so close. I mean, I can sand that out. All right, so I think what I need to do, one, get a new tape measure, and let's send some pictures to our client. Show them the rough spots. And then let's come up here. What we'll do is we'll do this. Like, okay, so now what we're looking for. This. Our current thickness, 1 13/16. We do one more, it's going to be close. It's going to be, like I said, 1 3/4, maybe a shy under. So let's let them know 1 13/16 inch currently. Almost right at 8 foot. So what I'm telling him is, like, right now we're almost 8 foot in between low spots. We need an additional 1 or 2 more passes for a clear 100% 8 foot section. It feels like we're getting just a little bit of lift. I got like some mill marks on these sides. I mean, I can always sand that out. You know, if we can switch over to a sanding feature and mill that out. But we're going to see what he says. If he says, hey, leave it, I may just do it like a little skim right across, where I'll like do a 1/4 turn or like an 1/8 of a turn, get it down to like a 32nd that I'm skimming off the top. But we'll see what happens, see what he comes back and says. But right now I am kind of at his mercy. Like when you get to this point, see, you know, to kind of see it feels a little silly. You know, if you're like, well, it's just, you know, 1/16 of an inch or 32nd of an inch, you know. But some people are very, very particular about the thickness. So I always like to let the customer make that call if I can. Well, it is. I think we're catching a lot of that tropical storm Ophelia that's coming through. Yeah, it's pretty wet outside. We've got dehumidifier running, air conditioner running inside to keep the relative humidity down. That really helps to prevent a lot of lift in the slab. You can still see it, just it really depends on how the slab was cut. If you remember earlier, we were talking about how this was slab. You get this, the crack of the log running up the center of the slab, so that creates a lot of tension on either side of it, and it's hard to keep that locked down. So you'll start to see a little bit of lift, but not the end of the world. It'll sand out. We're not like machining metal parts here. We want it as flat as possible to get, as good of a product as we can. But a little bit of movement's going to needs to be understood. So do you guys have any questions? It could be machine, business, life, favorite pizza topping, whatever. Kind of waiting here. If I don't see anything come through the next, like 10, 15 minutes, probably just in the live streams. That's all I got going on today. It's Sunday. I want to spend as much time as I can with the family. And I mean, I've got a ton of work. I've got probably 20 logs or 20 slabs underneath this that I could get processed up. Another slab out there to be worked on into a desk. So we'll get it. It's just, work is just never ending, which is good. Just trying to block out my time. We will see. We shall see. Okay. All right, keep going or stop now. All right, so he got back to us. Just wait on one more clarification, and we'll see where we're at. What's going to happen? You got this nice piece of maple behind me. It's way bigger than needed for a charcuterie board, but we did have all of the slabs out of that log milled at 6/4, just so if there was movement, we could keep it as thick as possible. Here, I'll pull this thing up. You can see that this thing is compared. It's a lot narrow, a lot shorter, but almost as wide. So it could be a nice little like sitting bench. It does have some like cracks in it, a couple of knots. But I think the figure is going to be really, really pretty in it. So this will be another project we get to do. So brings me to a good point. If you guys are in the market, or we got the holidays coming up, if you guys are looking for Christmas presents and you want something custom made, whether you use us or another maker, another woodworker, start thinking about getting your order in now. You start to say, oh well, it's October or it's November, I need to get this on the books for Christmas. It may be too late. Right now it's a really busy season, and just let you know, you may not get it for Christmas unless you get us in like the next couple of weeks here. All right, come on. All right, well, we're waiting to hear back. We just crossed 2-hour mark, so we're probably going to go ahead and just call it. I mean, for me to run one more pass kind of is what it is. It's not going to take maybe like 2 or 3 minutes. So I definitely appreciate everybody that came out, hung out. It does make this go a little bit faster. It can be monotonous as you've seen. But yeah, that's why I make podcasts and music and stuff like that. So thanks for hanging out, guys. Really, I do appreciate it. Whether you're on Facebook or on YouTube, it's been a lot of fun. We'll see you on the next one. I'm going to try and get to this, do stuff like this. I'm hoping to get to it daily. That way you guys can like hang out. You got that 9 to 5 and want to just chill, watch a little bit of woodworking and whatnot. We'll be around. So, all right, guys, see you around.